I'm moderator Annie, and this is our speaker 1, Chang Yi. And this is our speaker 2, DAPHNE Yun.
Hi.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our session. Today, we will exploring the idea of Lev Vygotsky, a Russian psychologist who called the father of social constructivism. Lev Vygotsky was a Russian psychologist who believed that children's cognitive development is deeply influenced by social interaction and culture. Unlike Jean Piaget, who emphasized stage of individual discovery, Vygotsky argued that the learning is the first social process before it becomes internalized by a child. A central idea in his theory is the zone of proximal development, that is ZPD. This refers to the gap between what a children can do alone and what they can achieve with the guidance of a more knowledgeable person such as teacher, parents, and peers. Vygotsky believed that effective learning happens when children are supported just beyond their current ability in this zone. To help students progress through ZPD, he introduced the concept of scaffolding, that is temporary guidance or support given by adults or peers who is gradually removed as the child becomes more independent. Another key idea is that language plays a crucial role in cognitive development. Vygotsky suggests that children first use language socially to communicate, and over time, this will turn into private or inner speech that help them think and solve problems. In short, Vygotsky theory highlights that the learning is not just an individual journey, but a collaborative one, shaped the cultural interaction and language. This has a huge influence on modern teaching methods that emphasize group work, guided learning, and give an active dialogue in the classroom. With that foundation in mind, we will now turn to our speaker 1, Sini, will take us deeper into how Vygotsky theory connect to real-life learning, like discussion, group work, and scaffolding, while speaker 2, Daphne, will discuss practical strategy for educators to apply Vygotsky ideas in the classroom, as well as examining the strengths and challenges of Vygotsky theory in real educational settings. I encourage everyone to listen closely, as these insights can help us better understand how children develop and how educators can support them more effectively. With great pleasure, now I invite our first speaker to deliver her presentation.
Thank you. From my point of view, Lev Vygotsky theory of education is very meaningful because it shows me how learning is not just something I do alone, but something I build through society and culture. I believe that education should not only prepare us for exams or careers, but also help us shape into fair, responsible, and caring individuals. I personally agree with Vygotsky's belief in inclusion. For example, I once had a classmate with a learning difficulty during my primary school, and I noticed how much he improved when he was learning together with the rest of us, instead of being separated. That experience convinced me that inclusive classrooms are powerful. Besides that, I also agree with Vygotsky's views that knowledge is created through interaction. In my own learning, I often understand lessons better when I work in groups or discuss ideas with my friends. Even when I make mistakes, I see them as valuable because they help me notice what I don't understand and allow me to improve. This makes me appreciate Vygotsky's point that mistakes are part of the learning process. I also find his perspective on human nature inspiring. He believed that we are not born with fixed ability, but we develop higher thinking skills through tools like language. Personally, I feel this is true because when I try to explain an ideas in words, I realize I understand it more clearly and I also can remember it more easily. One of Vygotsky's ideas that really stands out to me is the zone of proximal development. I experienced this myself when I was struggling with additional mathematics during secondary school. At first, I could not solve certain problems on my own, but with my teacher's step-by-step guidance, I started to see how the solution worked. And later, I was able to solve similar problems independently. This makes me feel more confident to answer questions during exams. That experience showed me how scaffolding can help learners move from needing help to becoming confident. I also believe that, like Vygotsky, that teaching should be meaningful and connected to real life. For example, when teachers use examples from our daily experiences, like when teachers use shopping as an example to explain percentages, I find it much easier to learn and understand. To me, education is not just about memorizing facts, but about learning skills and values that I can use in my life. I think classrooms should promote cooperation, respect, and cultural understanding because these qualities prepare us to live in society. Finally, I find Vygotsky's connection between knowledge and society very relevant to my life. In my opinion, what we learn is always influenced by our culture, our family, and the people around us. For me, the biggest lesson from his theory is that education is both a personal and social journey. I believe that I learn best when I interact with others, share knowledge with each other, and take part in meaningful activities that help me grow not just as a student, but also as a human being. This is why I value Vygotsky's theory in my own learning and future teaching, because it reminds me that education is not only about gaining knowledge, but also about becoming a better person in society.
Thank you, Simi, for insightful sharing. You highlighted how Vygotsky theories emphasize that learning is built through society and also culture, but not just individually. You give a meaningful personal example, such as the power of inclusive classroom, learning through group discussion, and the importance of scaffolding in your mathematics experience. I have the same experience as with you too, because I have friends who need extra guidance, and I saw how much progress he made when he received the support instead of being left alone. You also point out that education should go beyond exam, helping us develop values, cooperation, and cultural understanding. I really like how you connect the Vygotsky ideas to real life experience, showing that education is both a personal and social journey. Based on that, let me ask you a question. In your opinion, what can teachers do to make sure the students who need extra help feel included and supported in the classroom?
Thank you, Annie, for asking this question. In my opinion, teachers play a very important role in making sure students who need extra help feel included and supported. Based on my own experience, I believe there are several ways teachers can achieve this. Like first, teachers should build a positive and safe classroom environment. This is important because many students who struggle may feel shy or even embarrassed about asking for help. If the teachers create a culture where mistakes are treated as learning opportunities, students will be more confident to try. For example, when a student answers incorrectly, instead of saying, "That's wrong," a teacher might say, "Good attempt, let's work on it together." This makes the students feel respected and safe, not judged. And second, teachers can use differentiated instruction. Not all students learn the same way or at the same pace. Some might be visual learners, others may prefer hands-on practice, while some need more repetition. For example, in mathematics, a teacher can show different methods to solve a problem, such as using diagrams, real-life objects, or step-by-step examples. By doing this, students who need extra support are not left behind because the lesson is adapted to meet their needs. Third, teachers can apply Vygotsky concept of scaffolding. This means giving just enough support to help students reach the next levels of understanding. For instance, if a student cannot solve a math problem alone, the teacher might first guide them step by step. Later, the teacher can let the student try with less guidance. Over time, the students becomes more independent and confident. Next, teachers can encourage peer support and collaborative learning. Students often learn best from each other. I personally saw the power of this when I had a friend who needed extra guidance. At first, he was very quiet and often stayed back because he didn't understand. But when teachers encourage group discussion and peer learning, he received help from classmates, including me. Over time, he became more confident and started to participate actively. This shows that when teachers create opportunities for collaboration, students who struggle can learn not only from the teacher but also from their peers. Fifth, teachers should always give emotional support and encouragement. Academic help is important, but sometimes what a struggling student needs most is motivation. Teachers can use simple gestures like praising small achievement, giving positive feedback, or checking in individually. This can boost a student's self-esteem. For example, if a student who usually struggles finally solves one question correctly, the teacher should celebrate that achievement. Even small encouragement can make a big difference in their confidence and motivation to learn. Finally, I think teachers should also remember that education is not just about exams. It is about teaching values, cooperation, and cultural understanding. By building a classroom where students support one another, teachers ensure that no one feels isolated. Instead, every student feels like part of a community. In conclusion, I believe teachers can make students who need extra help feel included by creating a safe environment, using different teaching methods, applying scaffolding, encouragement, peer support, and giving emotional encouragement. From my own experience with my friend, I have seen how much progress a student can make when given the right support. This reflects Vygotsky's idea that learning is a both personal and social journey. And it is the teacher's responsibility to make sure every student is part of that journey and no one is left behind.
So thank you very much, Sydney. And now let's us move on to Daphne, who will continue showing us the practical strategy for educator to apply Vygotsky ideas in the classroom, and also examine the strengths and challenges of his theory in real educational settings.
Thank you, Annie, and thank you, Sydney, for those meaningful insights. As a training teacher, I would like to carry this discussion forward by looking at how Vygotsky idea can actually be applied in the classroom today. I will also touch on the strengths of his theory as well as some challenges teachers might face. To begin with, let's talk about scaffolding, like what have Sydney mentioned just now. I find this one of the most practical parts of Vygotsky theory because it's something we see all the time in classrooms. Scaffolding means giving pupils the right amount of support at the right time, and then gradually stepping back once they can manage on their own. I'm thinking of it like teaching someone to ride a bicycle. You start by holding the bike steady, but slowly let go until the learner finds their own balance. In my own school experience, my English teacher scaffold essay writing with sentences started. Later, she withdrew the support and I was able to write independently. That step-by-step guidance built my confidence in honors. In the 21st century, scaffolding is not limited to human teachers. With the rise of technology and AI tools like ChatGPT, scaffolding can also be supported digitally. I believe educators should guide pupils to use these tools responsibly, not as a shortcut, but as supports for learning. For example, AI can provide explanation and hints, but pupils must still practice solving problems themselves. Research supports this balance. Earlier studies shows that teacher scaffolding was more effective than fixed computer prompts. But today's AI can personalize feedback in ways that were impossible before. In large classes, where one teacher cannot attend to every student at once, digital scaffold can complement teacher support and reduce the workload. However, there are limits. AI cannot totally replace the emotional encouragement, empathy, and cultural understanding that come from human teachers. Learning is not about just solving problems, it's also about relationship and character. So, in my view, the key is balance. Technology can enhance teaching, but genuine social interaction remains at the heart of learning. The most powerful scaffolding happens when human guidance and digital tools work hand in hand.
Thank you, Daphne. That was a very thoughtful and really brought the idea of scaffolding into a modern context. I like how you highlighted the balance between what teacher can do and what technology can aid. It is true that AI can offer useful support, but as you pointed out, the human touch in teaching is irreplaceable. Perhaps this is a good moment to move us to another important part of Vygotsky theory. You may continue.
Alright, Annie, thank you for your support. And in my view, another key idea is the concept of the MKO, more knowledgeable other, which operates within a Vygotsky zone of proximal development, ZPD. Group work strongly supports this idea because pupils can learn from each other and benefits from different strengths. The MKO isn't always the teacher, it could be a peer, a parent, or even a digital tool. I remember being in a math study group where one of my friends explained algebra so clearly that I understood faster than if I had tried a lot. This reminds us that pupils can learn from one another, not just from themselves. Because they also highlighted that the role of language. Sometimes when I'm stuck on a math problem, I talk it through out loud. It may look a bit odd, but it helps me to catch mistakes and organize my thoughts. We call this private speech, which develops into inner speech. As teachers, we can encourage pupils to verbalize their reasoning. And this works both ways. The protege effect shows that when you teach someone else, you strengthen your own understanding. That's why I value teaching so much. In the process of giving knowledge, I gain even more myself. But this also means we must go beyond the syllabus. Imagine facing a pupil who asks deeper questions than the textbook provides. it would be awkward if we couldn't respond. Teaching pushes us to keep learning and broadening our knowledge and preparing for the unexpected. Being a teacher means that being a lifelong learner. Collaborative learning is also another powerful application of Vygotsky's theory. In one of our education projects, we worked in groups to design a STEM lesson. Some of us were creative, others logical, and together we produced something far better than what we produced could have done alone. Learning is a social process, and it also teaches us humility. No single idea is perfect, and no one holds all the correct answer. Real improvement comes when your strength cover my weakness and mine support yours. Working together, we don't just learn, we grow together. This is especially meaningful in Malaysia, where our classrooms are multi-ethnic and multilingual. Group work can help break down the barriers. For example, teachers can form mixed groups of Malay, Chinese, Indian, and also Bumiputra pupils. At first, there may be language difficulties, but children naturally find a creative way to explain and gradually build vocabulary and fluency. Over time, pupils don't just learn content, they gain patience, respect, and intercultural understanding. So, learning is not only from textbook, it happens through every interaction. It is about respect, language, collaboration, and empathy. This is where Vygotsky ideas move from theory into practice, helping us build a better classroom and ultimately a more connected society.
So thank you, Daphne, and also Cindy. So from what I have heard, both of you have given us a very well-rounded view from Vygotsky theory. Cindy highlighted how her ideas connect strongly to real-life learning, for example, through inclusion, group work, and scaffolding. Then Daphne took it further by showing us some practical strategies teacher can use in the classroom, while also pointing out both strengths and the challenges of applying the theory in real settings. Listen to these insights, it almost sounds as though Vygotsky theory is close to perfect. But as we know, every theory has its boundaries. So here is my question, Daphne. Do you think Vygotsky theory could even replace other theories of development?
No, I don't think Vygotsky theory can replace the others. Like any theory, it comes with both strengths and challenges, what you have mentioned. And on the positive side, his works remind us that learning is never passive, it's active, social, and built through interaction. It encourages us as teachers to see pupils as capable learners who can achieve more when given the right support. But of course, there are challenges too. For example, scaffolding takes time, and in a large classroom, it's not always possible to give each pupil the individual attention they need. Here, learning is powerful, but if the MKO, which is more knowledgeable other, gives the wrong information, this can spread misconceptions. And while private speech can help some pupils, others may feel embarrassed or reluctant to try it. That said, the strengths definitely outweigh the challenges. For me, the most important lesson from Vygotsky is that learning is never a lonely journey. It happens through interaction with teachers, with peers, and through language. To answer your question directly, Annie, I don't think Vygotsky ideas should replace other theories. Instead, they complement them. For example, like Piaget, focus more on a child's independent exploration and universal stage, whereas Vygotsky highlights social and cultural influence. Neither is better than the other. They simplify give us different lenses to understanding learning. When we bring this perspective together, we get a much richer, multi-dimension view of development. So in short, Vygotsky doesn't replace the others, he enriched them.
Thank you, Daphne. I think that sum it up really well. And what I hear from both Xingyi and also Daphne is that Vygotsky give us powerful tools and to understand how learning happens through social interaction, but it doesn't mean that we can ignore the contribution of other theories. At the end of the day, being overly independent, like focusing only on Piaget, individual exploration, or being overly dependent, like relying only on social guidance, can both create problems. What we really need is a balance. People should have the space to explore on their own, but also the support to learn from the others. So instead of asking which theory is the best, maybe the wiser approach is to see how this perspective can work together, giving us a fuller picture of children development and better strategy for our teaching. Before we end our today's forum section, I would like to open the floor once more. Xingyi and also Daphne, do either of you have any final thoughts or words you would like to share with us before we wrap up?
Thank you, Amy. I appreciated your points and Daphne ideas. I think my final point would be this. Vygotsky theory remind us that learning is never just about the individuals, it's about the community around us. Inclusion, collaborations, and scaffolding are not just strategies, but values that we can bring into our classroom. If we as future teachers can create space where pupils learn not only from books but also from each other, then we are truly preparing them for life.
Thanks a lot, Sydney and Daphne, for sharing your view. I think today we really saw how Vygotsky theory connects with real classroom practice like group work, scaffolding, and encouraging pupils to talk through their ideas. But at the same time, as we agree, not a single theory is perfect. The key of us as future teachers is to balance between guiding our pupils and letting them explore independently. With that, I think we can end our forums today. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.